It's a total Disney disaster, the likes of which not even we saw coming. Yes, we realized Moana, the live-action movie, would be bad. We knew the box office would not be glad to see it coming into cinemas, and it might even trash Toy Story 5. And yet, ladies and gentlemen, we never thought the numbers would go this low. We never believed it would compete with Supergirl as the biggest flop of the summer. Sorry, Motu. Today we'll tell you what the latest projections are and why Disney is sweating big time over Moana. Hello folks, welcome back to the channel where we're gonna give you the truth every single day, capital T, yes indeed. We believe in that sort of thing. As we dive in, smash that like button, subscribe, and click it. Stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. It's a Disney disaster that I swear we did not see coming. And I don't say that very often. We like to see things coming. That's why you come to us, right? So if I come out very often and say, well, can you believe it? We didn't have this one called at all. It went the absolute opposite way. Or if I come out and say, you remember that stuff we've been talking about for 3 months? Well, it didn't happen. And the other guys that I don't want you to watch, they called it correctly. So I don't normally do this, but boy, oh boy. I mean, I'm being a little silly. We did know Moana was going to struggle, but even I have said there was no way Moana was going to come anywhere close to Supergirl, because I could put a still frame shot of a paralyzed slug on a screen for 2 hours and it would make more money than Supergirl. Yet here we are. Reading this from the World of Reel, R-E-E-L, Jordan Ruemy, Moana could be Disney's next disaster. $250 million budget, which you know that means they overspent it, right? And that's just production, so that's not marketing. We assume that's going to be about $200 million. This sucker needs a lot of money to break even, minimum $800 million, but it's probably more. It is now projected, according to World of Reel, and Jordan Ruemy is a fair guy, so $40 million domestic opening. This is dropping like a rock. And I would have never, even as bad as this is, even as much as we've made fun of the bodysuit and all of this stuff, even though it's the exact same movie made 10 years later in a worse way, I am shocked. I am genuinely shocked in a way that I seldom am that this is now tracking with Supergirl. It says, here's another Disney live-action remake that might spell disaster for the House of Mouse, and quite honestly, he didn't see it coming either. Well, thank you, Jordan. That puts us in good company this time. The Moana brand was supposed to be one of Disney's surest bets. Sure was. The animated original, released in 2016, grossed $643 million worldwide. I remember with inflation, that'd be over $1 billion probably. But it became an even bigger hit on streaming, to the point that its sequel, Moana 2, crossed the $1 billion mark at the box office. And I dare say this is part of why things are failing right now. They took a TV show that was not particularly spectacular, turned it into a movie as Bob Iger was leaving the Disney company, made $1 billion, but may have destroyed the brand equity as people said, well, that was a sham, maybe even a scam. My kids don't like these songs, and that was boring, and I don't even understand what happened. Now comes the live-action remake, set for release this Friday, which is currently projected to have a limp $40 million opening weekend based on ticket sales. Now, I just want to say, folks, prior to this, we were hearing 60, 55, and I already was like, golly, 80 was bad for this kind of a property. This was the biggest girl brand 3 years ago on the planet, and it had been for years and years. So if it was going to make, 80 million, that was bad. 70 million was bad. 60 million was catastrophic. 55 was like, what is happening here? And we are now down in Supergirl territory. The critics are not helping it. 32% on Rotten Tomatoes and 44. It's got a 44 on Metacritic. Disney's already talking about Moana 3, by the way, trying to get through this. So there you go, $40 million. What does this put it with? Well, if we go to Supergirl, guys and gals, opening weekend for Supergirl was $37 million. It is now above Supergirl in projections by $3 million. $3 million. And we all know what's happening with Supergirl. We all know this is a total dumpster fire disaster. But Supergirl is no Moana. Supergirl is like a third tier, D tier kind of character in DC. Moana, 3 years ago, the biggest girl brand on the planet. Culture, I'll go to you first. I'm shocked. In fact, I don't even believe it. I'll be honest with you. I can't believe it's going to make 40 million. Surely it's got to make 60.
It's possible, but yes, I do believe the performance will be muted. $40 million wouldn't surprise me, though. I think it's too I think it's too soon. The Rock says it's not too soon, but I think it's too soon. I think we have a perfectly serviceable animation that people already have firmly implanted in their memory. It was one of the launch properties for the Disney Minus platform. They promoted the fact that you were going to be watching Moana over there, and then they touted its performance over there. And it did really well. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And it did bring business to them, but it's too much too soon, I think. And I think you're right. I think your analysis saying that, bringing a TV project and turning it into a second film before this came out was probably a mistake. It was probably a mistake. And look, a lot of people enjoy these particular types of animations.
No, they don't. Hang on, Culture. Let me interrupt you inappropriately and impolitely.
No, it's fine. That's fine.
Culture, on the screen, I've paused it. Okay, screen this way.
Yeah.
Name me the 3 other characters in that screenshot with Moana. They're main characters in the sequel. Name them, please.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anybody? Ron, you know the characters on the screen right there? Jonas?
Rolando, Devarius Miss King, and Leslie Herdunkached.
Okay, so here's the deal, folks. There are going to be folks out there who say, I can hear the boo birds right now. You're a bunch of old crusty men. Well, it's a girl's movie. Of course you don't know the people. You're making it. We cover this for a living. Like this is we have millions of views covering this kind of stuff. Like our livelihoods depend on being right. None of us can tell you who these characters are. And I'll guarantee you kids can't either. And that's the problem. They damaged this brand badly with a cheap, quick cash grab for Bob Iger and like Marvel and like Star Wars and like so many others. But not even I, guys, not even I considered for a moment that we would be down in Supergirl territory. We're in Supergirl territory. Yeah. Ron, walk us through what that means for the... Well, actually, no, I interrupted you, Culture. I took that away from you. Ha-ha, Culture, not only will I be impolite and interrupt you, but I'll also then just divert it away and send it away from you and be like, screw you and your thoughts.
I'm perfectly okay with that. And look, I mean, you don't have to agree with my analysis, but... I do agree with you. It won't surprise me that this makes 40 million domestic because look, it wasn't something people asked for. We always have to introduce the idea of who's this for? Is it for an audience that already has a better version of animation? If you compare it side by side with the live action, is it going to differentiate itself in a way that it elevates the material? The answer to that so far from every reviewer is no, which is why we are looking at Rotten Tomatoes scores of 32%. And the biggest complaint from the critics is there is no differentiation. And not to mention the fact that from what I've seen, the performance from The Rock is a little more flat compared to similar points in the film when compared with the animation. The animation is a better performance as far as not just the voice acting, but the actual acting or what's portrayed in the animation. So I have a feeling people are going to feel disconnected from the original property. Like I said, so it won't surprise me if it does terribly as compared to the previous performance of the film. Not at all.
Ron, it's your turn. You're on, Ron. I interrupted Culture and tried to take it away from him. He made darn good points, and now I'm expecting the same from you.
Well, here's the thing. They have put The Rock really in front of the marketing on this, and I think that's a huge mistake. I have seen a lot of Instagram posts with, I think her name is Catherine and Alani Carvalho, the two Moanas, and Alani, I think, was a producer on this in some capacity. They didn't put Catherine out enough. And the reason I'm saying that in the marketing is because by focusing on the one character, that's a huge misstep in this movie, which is The Rock's version of the live action version of Maui. Look at him there. I mean, nobody wants to see that. And Maui was a cartoon. Like in the animated version, Maui was larger than life, very different looking than The Rock. Only you could only see in his facial features and stuff that they kind of put a little bit of The Rock into that Maui character design, but he was animated and big and larger than life and played a demigod. And this version just kind of looks depressed. And the reason I'm saying that they should put Catherine out there in the forefront of the marketing is because she is not saying anything Zegler-like, controversial, nothing Millie Alcock-like. If they
she's not saying anything, period. Have you heard from her? I don't.
I've seen her in Instagram posts only. Like it comes across my feed, and it's not much. And I think that what I have seen from her and from Alani Carvalho, if they would have put those two girls out there a lot in front of the marketing, I think this would do better. This movie only survives in the box office by word of mouth, by fans that are big enough to go, well, I loved the animation so much that less than a decade later, I'm willing to go watch a live action version of this. And I think, unfortunately, Disney has kind of killed the live action version of anything with so many missteps. I mean, Beauty and the Beast. I look back to Beauty and the Beast, which made $1 billion and gave Disney the wrong message, because Beauty and the Beast live action sucked. Like, it just was. I hated that. Beauty and the Beast was proof positive of why live action doesn't always work for these animations, and I think this is going to be another one of those. But people learned to stay away from it at the movie theater, and they also know, hey, guess what? I'm already subscribed to Disney Plus. If I really want to watch it, I'll just watch it at home. It's not going to be this is not something for me to worthy enough to spend money to take my family to, because we all know that, on the average price of tickets and everything else, an average family of four spends close to $100 to go to see a movie. And it's a lot of money these days to go see something you just saw on Disney Plus and is readily available in a better format in the animated movie.
So let's walk through a little bit of why this movie looks so bad in just this one shot. And you can see, I mean, global box office is agreeing it may not make $50 million in its global opening, or excuse me, it's domestic. Global is 130, but they're saying now might not reach 100. If that's the case, it may have 2 to 3 legs. $300 million is your wrap up. And that would be a huge, I mean, we would be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars below the break even. Jonas, if we look at this, we can see, first of all, just what a jumbled mess it is. You've got The Rock in live action wearing a plastic bodysuit. He's kicking, and we've got digital sand flying up. We've got down here at the bottom, whatever this weird sand pattern is, that's not real. That's been composited over. The ground behind him does appear to be real. The boulders are not real. The lighting is hitting the boulders because we can see they're casting a shadow from behind them. So the boulders are receiving light from the front.
Yeah, agreed.
He's receiving light from the back.
That is a nice boulder. I like that boulder. But
ooh, I like that. Well, thank you, Jonas. I really like that boulder too.
Yeah. So looking at this, okay, 30 years ago, if somebody said we're doing a live action version of a Disney movie, you would actually have some reinterpretation there. In fact, they did that with 101 Dalmatians. It was a different movie because they made a live action adaptation. This just appears to be a live action visualization of the movie, which it was already in a visual format, so it makes no sense for them.
Look how much better this looks, and this was not great.
Right. Well, and Moana 2 was supposed to be a TV show, and I saw some interviews recently with the writer of this and the writer of the live action and the writer of Moana 3, which they're in talks to do, so they're going ahead and writing it. It's going to happen because eventually they'll write the check for however much it costs to get The Rock to do this movie. This is, what it looks like without looking at it. There are some things that you can do that for, and okay, that's going to be interesting. Jack Black singing "Hit Me Baby One More Time," you can describe it, but it actually sounds fun when you listen to it. When you say a live action version of Moana, you've already seen that in the way that Disney is doing it, because 90% of it is animated anyways, if not more than 90%. And what looks photorealistic there is probably been covered up with CGI or adapted with AI or whatever. So there's no wonder in how they made this movie. It's more of a wonder why they made this movie. And when you make a movie specifically for market reasons, that takes away from the magic of it. That is Disney in the wrong way. That's not Disney in the way that people would like Disney to mean it. So looking at this, okay, that's great. It looks more like a Super Bowl ad that they've spent $250 million to make. It's something of no value. You can go, oh, they did the thing, and then you move on from it. So this to me does not have cultural impact. It's just economic impact. And I think even parents are not crazy about that.
The original Moana, though, I give it a 10 out of 10 I think it's a phenomenal film. I think it actually is one of the very few times we've represented the female hero archetype correctly. And Moana, it's actually an attack on the beta male concept. Moana tries to be the masculine hero archetype. She fails. And she realizes that the reason the ocean chose her is because she is supposed to bring the nurturing, empathic model of the female hero archetype. And that's what saves the day. And that's a great light for girls to go for. She's a great pathfinder for that. Here's, folks, where we get into something that, this is why it's unbelievable. Let's say Moana is a terrible film. Let's say it's an ugly film. Let's say that it's just a rehashing of the same thing. All those are probably true. It is still as of like 3 years ago, the largest girls brand in the world. I'm sorry, K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm sorry, Frozen. Nothing came close to Moana. Moana was the big kahuna, not just of Disney Plus, but of streaming. It was the #1 movie on streaming year after year after year on all of streaming. Now, why do I have The Marvels up? I have The Marvels up because The Marvels was one of those movies that when it arrived in theaters, it was mocked unbelievably because it failed unbelievably. And we covered it here on this channel. We talked about this as one of the biggest flops in the history of cinema. We did, along with Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny. And then Supergirl came out and we said, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Supergirl is actually going to go under the Marvels. Can you believe this is happening? The Marvels opened to $46 million. Moana, the biggest girl brand on the planet as of like 3 years ago, is currently projected to not insignificantly underperform the Marvels. It should be impossible. And we're not even adjusting for inflation. This should be impossible. Panel final thoughts. I mean, it's just, this is where we are now. This is where Disney is. And if it was not for Toy Story and Devil Wears Prada, we would be in, like, I think investors would be freaking out. I think investors still may freak out. But this is awful.
I kind of feel awful for the young actresses that they put in this, that put, a lot of, Iman Vellani, Catherine, I can't remember her last name. These actresses are falling victims to something that, they were given a great deal of high hopes for their potential careers going forward. And I know Iman Vellani, she's just kind of like, she just puts out a good aura.
Wait a minute. You keep saying Iman Vellani. That's you're talking about the Marvels. Okay. Ali Cravalho, the original Moana. Okay, keep going. Yeah, my fault.
The original Moana, like nothing. I just feel bad because none of them are Zeglers. None of them are Millie Alcocks, right? They're not right. The reason their brands are doing bad. And it sucks for something like Moana, because like you explained, the story of the girl and the way that they handled this female character, we need more of them like that. And if this underperforms, I hate the message that might send to the creators that, oh, well, we can't do girl brands that have it just bothers me. And that I really think that what's dragging this down, what's dragging it down is the things that we talked about from the very moment this movie was announced. Nobody wants this. Nobody's asked for this. It's way too soon. And then when the pictures of The Rock in the bodysuit came out, we're like, okay, no, it's one disaster after another. That is really taking away from a brand that Disney had the opportunity to continue doing great things with in animation, that they never needed to do this. Is The Rock to blame? Are the Disney execs to blame? I'd love to know who we can pinpoint.
I'll tell you what it looks like to me. It looks like George of the Jungle. And I mean that in every negative way possible. And I love Brendan Fraser.
I love George of the Jungle. How dare you, sir?
Yeah, but Moana shouldn't look like that.
I actually want to point out, Ron brings up a good point. If this movie is also failing and everybody loves Moana and they've generally stayed away from like The Rock actively stayed away from the political conversation on this one.
He did.
It makes me wonder what chance the Rachel Zegler Snow White had. Of course, they had Rachel. There's almost no way that you can account for how much of the box office she actively destroyed. Everyone was aware of that film coming out. Like this one, I had to be reminded it's coming out this month because because there's nothing to discover about it, because there is no series of, oh, well, they're going to do this and they're going to do it different. There's no journey of learning about it. You know,
I've already seen it.
It is. But it does make me question a little bit how much of Snow White's failure was specifically Rachel Zegler's fault versus this is just a bad idea. They don't need an entire division that just does live action remakes in spite of what the market may think of those.
I totally agree. Culture, you get the final word.
Well, I think that the lessons learned here won't be, don't do girl boss movies anymore, but that should be one of the lessons taken away. Disney won't take that one away because they're too invested in that. But at the same time, the real lesson should be stop making live actions. Those are nothing but a soulless cash grabs, and we've been bearing witness to that the last several. So
switch to Star Wars. Do something that works. Oh, wait. Oh, no. One of the greatest things we get to do each and every day is speak out and reach out to folks who don't know how entertainment works. And frankly, we think entertainment matters so much. It's why we do what we do. And you can help us send this out to even more folks. Click that like button, share, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. And wouldn't you know it, folks, we're even on Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/WDW Pro. We've got to go, but until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.